I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times. That's not for them to decide. All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you.
The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, released in 2001 and is directed by Peter Jackson, who has also directed such films like The Frighteners, King Kong, Crossing the Line, and The Lovely Bones. And this film is starring Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, Viggo Mortensen, Sean Astin, Cate Blanchett, John Rhys-Davies, Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, Orlando Bloom, Christopher Lee, Hugo Weaving, Sean Bean, and Ian Holm. And the reason why we're talking about The Fellowship of the Ring today is because it was a part of this huge bundle that Dr. Camp sent my way. He first recommended the extended versions of the Hobbit films, which I watched the extended version of all those Hobbit films and reviewed it earlier this week. And now I really want to move on with my life with something awesome. So now we're going to be looking at the extended version of The Lord of the Rings, just not Two Towers, because I've already reviewed that very early on in my career here on YouTube. But thank God I'm here, because the Hobbit films really just sucks the soul out of you, and all the hope that you have, and all that hope is just pulled right out from under you. But we're returning to a time when this whole Middle-earth thing was unknown, and everything was brand new, and everything was awesome.
Thousands of years ago, the Dark Lord Sauron forged a master ring to control all the other rings in the land, and for him to unleash his terror on all of Middle-earth. But he was defeated by the armies of men and elves, and the Ring of Power went missing, and it somehow ended up in the small little pocket of a small little person called Bilbo Baggins of the Shire. But the wise wizard Gandalf the Grey has been very curious about this magical ring that Bilbo has stumbled upon, and he discovers that it is indeed the Ring of Power. So Gandalf enlists the help of Bilbo's nephew Frodo Baggins to take the ring out of the Shire and to the land of the elves, where a council will be held to determine the fate of the One Ring. I'm pretty proud of myself to keep that plot synopsis very condensed, because this is a very long movie, and there's a lot that goes on in here, and we go to one point, and the mission is over, and then we have another mission that starts, then we have another mission that starts. So there's a lot that happens in this film, and it's so entertaining. It's so awesome. I love this movie so much. This came out in my early teens, which is like the most impressionable years that everyone has. That's when you determine all the things that you're into. So, of course, when this film came out, I was really into it. So therefore, going forward, I was a huge, gigantic nerd. And the film follows the whole Joseph Campbell, a hero's journey stereotype to a T. We have Frodo Baggins, our hero, our protagonist, the ring bearer, living a peaceful life here in the Shire, not really wanting any adventures or to go off and do anything. Very similar to what Bilbo was in The Hobbit. But then a wise old sage comes in and gives him a call to action, and through his determination, because he's a relatable character to us, the audience members, he says, okay, let's do it. And he goes off on his journey, and he goes through all these obstacles, all these dark periods. He goes up against the Black Riders on the horses, deals with a bunch of drunks at the Prancing Pony. Keep it together, guys. And he starts building this fellowship of everyone looking to take care of him, who is taking care of the ring, trying to get it all the way to Mordor to destroy it. Now, this is a part one. It's not complete. It's not finished. This is only the start of the journey. But to me, this one, other than Return of the King, feels the most complete and contained story, because we have all the exposition, we have all the establishment of all these characters, and when we get to the climax, when we get to the ending, when the fellowship is broken and everyone kind of goes off in their separate ways, it kind of feels like the ending of a journey, because that's what this film is called. It's the Fellowship of the Ring, and if there's no more fellowship, it's kind of the end. So that's why this is my favorite of the Lord of the Rings franchise. Plus, it's the most D&D version out of all of them. Yes, you have this big company of people, but unlike the Hobbit prequels that I talked about earlier this week, every single character in this company I know, and I have a sense of who they are. They actually have dialogue, so I can hear them in the movie, and I know where they're coming from. And when certain of them either go off a certain way, or get captured, or are killed, I feel terrible, and I don't want them to die. Whereas the Dwarf Company in the Hobbit films, I couldn't care less about any of those people. And there's also a lot more practical effects in this film than with The Hobbit. The Hobbit, they had a bunch of use of green screen. They were checking out different frame rates for the camera. Here, though, a lot of the sets and a lot of the costuming pieces, a lot of the characters
are all practical. They are all there, and there's a lot of film tricks happening here where you have the large Gandalf on one end of a little turntable, and then Frodo Baggins, Elijah Wood, the actual actor, is all the way in the back, but the way the camera is shooting, it looks like they're all in the same scene, and little Elijah Wood is so tiny against the large Sir Ian McKellen. I love seeing film tricks like that. I feel like we get more of these in here, and it makes it a more enjoyable experience as the audience member than opposed to the prequels. I need to stop talking about The Hobbit, because it just hit me so hard just how underwhelming those were. Let's stay focused. Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is great. And even in this extended edition, yes, there are things in there that it's like, no, there's no reason to shoot that. There's no reason to put it in this film, but there's actually a lot in here, probably more so than the other extended editions of Lord of the Rings, where it's like, no, that makes sense, and actually builds up of who that character is and lets me know who that character is. If you had to force me to make a choice between the extended version and the theatrical version of these films, I would definitely choose the theatrical version. One, because they're shorter, but there's also a better pacing to the theatrical version, whereas the extended little things are more dragged out, and there are things in here where I go, that didn't play into anything in the end of this film and where these characters were going. That scene is not needed, so let's all cut it down. That's why the theatrical version, I feel, is better. There are tons of iconic and great action sequences in here when the four hobbits are hiding under the root and the Black Rider is just above them, and all the insects are creeping away because they sense just how evil that character is. An iconic image from this movie. The whole Battle of Moria is frickin' fantastic. I mean, how could you not enjoy that? You shall not pass! And the final battle scene with the fall of Boromir and the breaking of the Fellowship. It's a great action scene. We have a great little standoff between the head orc and Strider. Legolas is in here, and he's a total badass, and we get the establishment of his relationship with Gimli, which is one of the best relationships out of this entire franchise. And then the whole moment with Frodo and Sam saying, I will not leave you. I made a promise, Frodo Baggins. Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee, and I don't mean to. All emphasized by the brilliant score of Howard Shore, and the whole Howard Shore score for this entire trilogy is wonderful. I actually re-downloaded it to my computer after watching these movies because I forgot just how great they were. I'd say the only downfall of this movie is that there's very little Gollum, and Gollum is one of my favorite characters in this entire thing, and it makes sense he's not in here. We get little glimpses of him. We get more in Two Towers and definitely Return of the King, but I want Gollum in here because Gollum's cool. But Fellowship of the Ring, it's my favorite of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It feels the most D&D like, hey, we have a quest. Let's go on a quest with all of our company. And in the other films, because everything is divvied up, it's still enjoyable, but it's not like one united company until the very end of Return of the King. I don't know, I just like the whole D&D quest with all these characters. It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna give The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring 4.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
It's good. It's good.
Alright everyone, we have come to the end of our Middle-earth franchise week, and I'll be talking about the last chapter that we've gotten so far, and that's Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. One of the biggest spoiler titles out there. So guys, have you seen The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I'm releasing next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Return of the King. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.